Hey everyone, this is the artistry. This is part 2 of my pirate costume. I am finishing up the pirate vest for the costume I'm making. And before I get started on with the rest of the vest, I just want to take a quick minute and show you what I've been doing with the pirate hat. I noticed that the pirate hat kept closing. It was kind of like this and closed up. So what I've been doing is I just looked around and I found this weight, and this weight actually works perfectly, and I've been using it to stretch out the hat to keep it open like that to mold the foam. And so that is something you might want to consider doing if you did make the hat. So I'm just going to keep this like this, and that'll just keep stretching it out and mold it to the shape that I want it. And then I'm going to get started on the vest now. I did want to talk for a brief moment about the size and why I didn't end up having enough fabric, because usually I guesstimate too high and have too much fabric, and I thought it was very odd that I had too little this time. And the reason was that I had used that t-shirt, to measure the vest, and I didn't double check my own measurements. This t-shirt is a little long, is what I'm going to guess. I had used this. My measurements from the top of his shoulder to below his waist was 17 inches, or around to where his waist was 17 inches. And this, after I had finished it, ended up measuring 21 inches in length. And so that's 4 inches longer than it really needs to be. And so that's why I ended up running out of fabric. But I just wanted to let you know that what I ended up doing is I didn't want this vest to be too long. So I took an inch off the bottom. And the reason why I only took an inch off is the 17 inches in measurement were exact. So I did want to add a little length to it, just not that much. So I still want to keep it, I want to shorten it, but keep it a little bit long, just in case I need to. I'd rather have it long than have it too short, because once you take it away, you can't put it back. It's easier to keep it a little bit longer and take away later if you need to. So what I'm doing now is I'm measuring. I went and bought this extra brown fabric for the back of the vest, and I'm just measuring out the back. And so what I've done is I've aligned this side here, and the first thing you want to do is remember where your open seams are and where you're going to be sewing to the back. So I'm going to be sewing this side to the back, this side, and these two top edges. And so these already provide for a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So that's why I can match this up to the very edge. And similar to here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my fabric pin and measure just right up to that edge of the vest and make a straight line to follow the side of that vest all the way down. What I've done here at the bottom is, because we will not be sewing these together, I need to make sure that I provide extra fabric so that I can fold that over and create a border. So I have left 1.5 inches. You can do more or less, totally up to you, as long as you can fold it twice. And then these top edges, again, should match. So I'm going to draw the lines there as well and use this as a guide. And then what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw a line and use this as a guide as well to get an idea of where the armhole will be. But what I need to do here is I need to add let's see, extra space to this because I will need to create a border here as well. So I'm going to add 1 inch is maybe too much. I almost want it, but then 1/2 inch is too little. I'm going to do a 1/4 inch. So I'm going to measure out, sorry, not a quarter, 3/4 of an inch. So I'm going to measure out 3/4 of an inch from this arm hole, and I'm just going to mark it. And what I want to do is try to follow the line of that armhole and draw a line, a curved line. And so that's very difficult to see. I hope you can see that. That's what I drew right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I will do the 1/4, 3/4, and draw that line as well. Okay. So yeah, that actually works. The last thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to this back of the vest. I want the back to hang just a little bit lower here. So first I want to mark where my my vest ends. So I'm going to just mark 2 marks here. And then what I'm going to do is first, I'm just going to draw a straight line. I think that'll be the easiest first. And then show you what I'm going to do after that. Now I'm going to have to create a border here. So I need to add a little space. This part gets a little awkward. I'm going to be sewing this at 1/2 inch, or yeah, 1/2 inch. I almost have to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little fabric just to the neck part because I know I'm going to have to fold that over a couple times to create a border. And so I'm giving an extra 1/2 inch here just so that I have some fabric to work with. Again, easier to take away than to add. But we'll see what I'm going to do there. That one, I might have to actually cut out a piece and just add to it. So I have this drawn out and I'm going to cut it now. Let me see. I had forgotten to draw this line here, and it's probably not absolutely necessary, the 3/4, but I'm just going to draw it because I have it on the other side. and it's going to tell me exactly where I need to fold. Okay, I'm going to cut this out. I think what I'm going to do here is, as you see, I gave that extra space. I'm just going to cut diagonally like this to give a little extra room there. I'd rather just give a little extra room and then remove it if I need to. And I'm going to do the same thing right here. I'm just going to cut diagonally from here to here. Okay. So let me just get that out of the way. I need to, let's see. I'm going to minimize my window a little bit. I'm supposed to keep my chat visible, which I haven't been doing, but no one's watching and no one's talking, so I think I'm fine anyways. I'm just going to trim these extra strands just to clean it up. So now what I want to do is, before I attach the front to the back, I want to create my borders. Now, this one didn't have a right side or wrong side, so I drew directly on this. You probably wanted to draw on the wrong side. I probably should have mentioned that in the beginning. So here is my border at the bottom, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this once all along here, where the line is. There is a line where I drew the quarter, the 3/4. I'm going to fold the edge to that line. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to iron this down, and then I'm going to fold it one more time and iron it down. So it meets that spot where I drew that line. So bear with me for a moment. I need to, oops. Get my ironing board. So here is the drawn line. I'm going to fold this to meet that and iron down on it. And I'm just trying to create an edge, like a clean edge. I'm trying to create a clean edge. So I folded that once, and now I'm folding one more time. And that fold is directly, this fold here at the back is directly on the line. Okay, so I have that edge, and now I also need to do that to the armholes. I'm going to, this one I provided way less, but I'm just gonna, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold it down and just iron right on top of that to keep it in place. Okay, and then I'm going to fold it one more time, and now right on the line where I drew, and iron that down as well. Now I also need to do this side. And so I'm folding it so the edge meets that line that I drew. I iron down on that to create a crease. And then folding it one more time on that line that I drew, and then just running my iron over it again. Okay, so I have that, and now I need to figure out this edge. I think what I'm going to do I think I'm just going to keep it straight. I almost feel like it should be curved slightly like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the line. So I'm going to cut a curve right here for the neck, and this is where I drew my line of where the other side, the top is going to meet right there. So I'm going to fold this, I'm going to fold this like this together, and match the ends here. And I basically want that line that I drew right there to be matching on the other side, and it is. And if you're not sure, you can put a needle right through where it's going through, and I see it matches perfectly. And so now I'm going to flatten this, and I'm going to draw where I'm going to trim. I don't want to go too far because I still need a seam allowance right there. So let's see how much I took off. I ended up taking an inch off, just almost above an inch. And I'm gonna just, I think that's going to work, but I need to fold it twice. And that is where that is going to meet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a 1/2 inch. I'm going to measure where I just drew this line. I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch from that and go all the way across and follow the curve that I made. I think that may be very difficult to see. So that is what I drew, and I'm just going to cut all along here. Remove that pin. And then where I drew that line, I'm going to fold like I did with the rest. I'm going to fold and I'm going to start ironing that down as well. And then I'm going to fold one more time. Okay. I want to make sure once these have been folded, if I'm going to sew this down, this measures exactly 1 1/4 inch right here. And if I hold these down as well, hopefully it will also be 1 1/4. And if it isn't, then I need to move it a little bit to get it there. So that looks good, 1.5 or 1.25 as well. I just want to check now. Make sure these are 1.25 because they need to match up, and these are, yes, 1.25. I'm going to move this. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew these down now. I've created that crease, and I'm going to try to sew this kind of close. If you see there, I'm going to try to sew right here along this edge to keep this down now, and it's just going to create a nice border there. I'm going to do both this side, the top side, and the bottom. I wish I could get this. I decided not to move my camera because I don't think anyone cares to watch me sew anyways. And I'm just going to do this really as quick as I can. I actually edit these out of the video anyway, so. Now, to keep this down, because it keeps wanting to open up, I'm going to pin a couple pins to keep it in place. I think for my next stream, I'm probably going to do something different. This is probably not very fun to watch. I really wanted to do a charcoal piece. It's been a while. So I'll probably do that next. So what I've done is I have pinned all along the arms, the top, and the bottom, and that's where I'm going to sew. And now I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew along those edges. What you can do is when there's a curve like this, before sewing it down, you can actually open it back up. Oh gosh, that's so hard to see. Open it back up and just trim a very small snip, like on that edge, but don't trim too far. Just trim a tiny little bit. What it does is it releases the tension here, and that way, I think this still works because it's not curved that much, but that'll relieve that tension there, and then it doesn't create like this weird ripple effect. I'm going to try it over on this side and see if that makes any small difference. But what I will do is I will take this to the iron as well, and that will probably even that out. Okay. So I have sewn along these edges right here, and I left these two spots open, and as you can see, I at the edge here, I sewed as close as I could. I sewed as close as I could just to that edge, and it creates this border on the outside, which looks nice. So this will be the inside, and then this will be the outside. Just want to get rid of some of these excess strands. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is, for the front, I need this to button, and so I wanted to create a 3/4 overlap. So I overlapped the front right here, and you kind of can see the outline of that. And I just made sure that it's actually closer to an inch, which is fine. And then, yeah, it is closer to an inch. So as long as you're aware of where you're going to be sewing, because I'm going to sew a border stitch along here to make it look a little nicer. So I'm going to make sure that's an inch too. So I'm going to sew, if you can see this shadow, all along that line. And I have a ruler on my sewing machine anyways, so I'm just going to use that. And then I'm also going to sew that inch along this edge too. Oh, it's getting hot in here. So I sewed that border stitch, and of course it's very hard to see all along that front there, and you have to make sure to keep it straight at the edge here, because it's easy to accidentally curve this way as you're coming to an end. So I did it on both sides, and now I'm going to sew the front of the vest to the back of the vest. And I'm going to try a new technique. I've never done this before, but it sounded like something really easy to do. So my friend had brought it up to me, and I thought I would give it a try. So right now I have the wrong side showing to the back of the for the back of the vest, and I'm going to place this is the left side of the vest directly onto that. And match up. First I'm going to start with this side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch all along this edge. And I know this sounds a little weird, but I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch along this edge, and then I'm going to flip it and sew another 1/4 inch on the inside. So let's give it a try. If it messes up, at least I have my seam ripper, so it's not the end of the world. So with this, I'll have to use my clips again because I can't use pins. Actually, it might be okay to use the pins because I'm going to be sewing this out anyways, but so that's what I'm going to do first. So a 1/4 inch. Okay. Hopefully this turns out the way I hope it's going to turn out. So then, now, this is where I sewed along, and I'm going to now flip that this way. And I almost want to iron this down. I think I'm just going to press down on it with my iron. I want to get that edge as close as possible. I mean, this is not even hot, so I'm just trying to get that edge to roll out, and I have to use my fingers to push that as I'm pushing down on the iron. So that's kind of helped flatten this just by pushing down on the iron. And then I'm going to take this back to my sewing machine and sew another 1/4 inch along here. And basically I want to cover that open seam. And I might do just a little above. I think I'll do a little above 1/4 because I want to make sure that the excess fabric is not hanging on the other side. So I'll do above 1/4 inch. And now I'm going to go back and forth a couple times at the beginning because that's a high stress area. Okay, so let's see how it turned out. It looks nice. I'm very happy with it. There is no excess fabric hanging on this side, and it's created this clean seam on the inside. And so later what I can do is I'm going to take my iron and, well, I can't iron on this because it's synthetic. I don't want it to melt, but I'm going to just press down like this. And yeah, press down on that a little bit more to get that flat. So that came out really, really nice. I'm happy with it. So I'm going to do that on the other side too. And I only have 10 more minutes, so I'm going to try to do that as quickly as possible. I need to show you also how to sew this top part and then and sew your buttons on. Let's see. I think what I'll do is I'll just explain that. What I'll do is I'll sew this top part and then I'll show you the buttons. So we're going to do the exact same thing. Well, not the exact same thing. We're going to lay this out, wrong side facing up. Put this over like this. We're going to match up that edge and get it to the point where your fabrics meet on each side. And I'm seeing that this is a tiny bit smaller than I hoped it to be. And what I mean by that is I matched these up, but this back piece is a little bit smaller than the front of the vest. And so I'm going to trim that a little bit to get it to the thicker part. So I just trim that just right now so it's almost matching, and I'm going to now sew that 1/4 inch all along this. So I did that. I sewed along here, and now I'm going to flip that like this. And I'm going to sew along this edge a 1/4 inch, or just above a 1/4 inch. Now you don't have to do it this way. I just thought it actually just looks nicer on the inside, but some people don't care what it looks like on the inside of the fabric, because I mean that part's not going to be showing anyways when you wear the vest. And what you can do is you can just instead do it the normal way that you do it, and do your zigzag stitch instead. I don't know. I decided to go all the way in reverse on that one. It got a little... I should have sewed down on the non-faux leather side because it was catching in the sewing machine. Okay, so now it's kind of created this clean edge here on the top as well, like that. So you're going to do the exact same thing with the other side, and that's going to give you your vest. And then you're just going to, when you want to put your buttons on, see, I went and bought buttons because I felt like I didn't have enough. You want to make sure that you have a button kind of close to the top. And I'm going to mark with my marker exactly where I want that first button. So I'm going to mark it right here. And that is an inch. Wow, an inch exactly from where the two sides meet. An inch. So, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to space out, let's see, how long is this? It's about 11 and a half. And I feel like that'll be one. I think that'll work. I think what I'm going to do is make it 2.5. Because it's a vest, I can give like a larger gap between each button. So let's try 2.5. So I'm just going to mark that all the way down. And then the gap at the bottom is 3. So that's, wonder if I should have gone, no, 3 is too much and 2 is too little. So I think that's fine. What you want to do also is when you sew on your buttons, you want to make sure it's in the middle of that 1-inch border that you had sewn right there. And then, so you'll sew your buttons on right where you marked. And then you're going to mark that on the inside as well. And let's see, you want to think about where your buttons are going to be. Your buttons are going to be on your right side. I mean, that's what I prefer. I would want my buttons on my right side. And this is actually going to be the buttonholes on this side. And it's going to sit like that. So I'm going to measure that 1 inch and mark where the buttonhole is going to be. And then measure the 2.5. And there I can see, I can just by looking like this, I can see that that matches there. So I hope this helps. I hope you enjoyed this video, and the third part of my pirate costume is a jacket, and it kind of looks like a pea coat. I don't think I'm going to stream or post that. I'm only going to do it if someone wants it for some reason. It's a very long, it's going to take a long time, and I don't think anyone needs to watch that or cares to watch it. You could just get a pea coat and sew some trim on it to make it look like a pirate jacket. If you do want to see it for some reason, please message me and let me know. Thanks again for watching, and have a good day.